Hi there. Gonna try to do a quick video because I'm going to be potting up some plants. I've done a couple videos already about this. So if you are looking for something that's more detailed, goes through every little step that you can watch, there are some other videos on my channel. Feel free to check those out. Today what we're gonna do, I have a lot of pepper plants that I've started, and let me show you, hang on. So I have peppers that I've started in two different containers, and I honestly don't think I even remember why I did this in two different containers. I think what I was doing was trying to sort of save space. So you can see these are 6 packs, that 6 of these will fit in a 10 by 20 tray. So the cells are deeper and bigger. And I did a couple of seeds in each cell, and then did like 2 types of peppers. And I think this was peppers that I was pretty sure I didn't, I was only sort of like happy or excited about planting. And so I didn't feel like I needed to have as many backups, or maybe they were peppers that I wasn't sure. I don't even know. I just was trying something different. Well, what I'm noticing though, so this is the size of these. Now compare this with what most of the peppers got started in, were 6 packs that are quite a bit smaller. And I was very careful to do just 1 seed per cell, thinking that it would be about the same amount of space and, so on. Well, when I compare the pepper plants in here with the pepper plants in here, these look bigger. So I'm not sure if maybe just having that much more room, even though there were a couple or 3 seeds, gave these peppers in the bigger cell packs a little better start. So what I'm going to do, even though I probably could keep things in their current little spots, they're not. So here's the fun thing with these. These are the clear trays, so you can see, they're, on some of these I was able to see a little bit of roots, but they're not coming out the bottom. There's not, masses of roots that you can see through the clear plastic. So they've still got some room to grow some roots, but I'm thinking maybe it's kind of like fish. They need a little bit of a bigger space to really start to put on some size. So I'm going to go ahead and pot all of these up into a container that should hopefully, fingers crossed, not have to be potted up from again. And that are these little guys that I think are, let's see, they're about 3 inches wide. So they're about a 3-inch square, and then they're about 3.5 inches tall. So maybe a smidgen on the small side by the time we get ready to plant, but then at that point it may not be a bad thing to kind of restrict their growth a little to keep them from getting too big before they go outside, because the bigger they are when they go outside, sometimes they can be a little more likely to get stressed because they're so used to being inside. So anyways, I'm going to pot all of these peppers. I'm going to break them up. Any cells that have more than one, I'm going to give them their own little home, put everybody in one of these guys here, and then give them a little bit of fertilizer and see how that helps them grow. So that's the plan for today. Oh, and then I have a few things that are like broccoli, or a couple different broccoli and a broccoli rabe that I started that are looking, really nice and healthy, but they are definitely, when I popped one out, you can see they've got a ton of root development in here. So I'm going to see if I can still separate these guys, put them in their own little pot as well. And if I can't separate them, I may have to thin just so that there's only one per. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I will, I'm going to pause this, get set up. I'll show you with 1 or 2, and then that'll be the end of it for today. Hang on. All right, so here we are. I have the broccoli rabe, and I already have pulled it out of the tray like this, and it was in a big clump. And what I did is I just gently kind of massaged that to kind of break up the roots being so tightly compacted. And then I grabbed a couple from one kind of end of the bunch and the other end of the bunch, and I just gently shake and pull them apart, and they just sort of come apart like this. And this particular cell had a whole bunch of little baby plants in it. So what I'm aiming to do is end up with 8. So I'm just gonna keep separating these and see which ones look the best and the healthiest. Like that is pretty puny, so it's probably a thank you for coming. This one didn't come off with as many roots, so he's a maybe. This has a bunch of roots here, so that's a for sure. We're gonna pot that one up. So what we do is we've got our 2.5, 3-inch pot here. I filled it up with slightly moistened potting mix that I also added a little bit of starter fertilizer to. This is a potting mix, so it's got it's not completely fine like seed starting mix, but it's pretty good quality, so there's not too many big chunks of things. It's got some white, the white flecks you see would be perlite. That helps with drainage. There's also probably some vermiculite and some other things in here that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's from Espoma. It's organic. It's got good stuff in here. It helps the plants grow. It gives them a nice environment to grow. It's not too compacted. So you can see it's a little bit fluffy. So I'm just making a hole here in the middle. I'm going to take this big clump of roots. I'm just going to guide it into that hole, kind of get it down in there, and then pinch up and get it stable with a good amount with all of the roots buried and a little bit of the bottom part of the stem so that it's nice and stable. And I've already made a tag for every container this year because I had a few last year situations where I was potting things up and I just did a tag at the head of a row in the tray. And I had a few things that were later on not what I thought they were. So we're going to avoid that this year. So I'm going to add a little bit more. This looks a little wobbly. Make sure that's nicely tucked in. And that's the process. So that's what I'm going to do with all of the broccolis and the broccoli robs. I'm going to aim for ending up with 8 little pots total. With the peppers, it'll be exactly the same process. But let me just pull one of those out and show you from the small little container. So from these smaller cells, let's just take a look. This is a type of pepper called Flavor Burst Yellow. So just to see how those actually look, let's pull one out. And same exact thing, they're just a little bit smaller plants to start with. So I'm just filling this up, giving it a gentle little tap. It's nice and fluffy because I didn't get it too wet. That there's plenty of room here to kind of make a hole for the plant. And I'm gonna just pop this out. These are really nice because they also have these, these also have these holes in the bottom so you can kind of poke with your finger. Makes it much easier to get the plants out. So there we go, and we can see we do have a decent amount of roots here. You can see them. They're still in really nice condition. They're nice and white, so that's good. And I'm going to just pop this little guy, in this hole. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make it a little less deep because I don't want any air pockets. And I'm going to bury this just a tiny bit. Peppers can handle having a little bit of their stem buried to help get that in there in a little bit more of a stable situation. And there you go. Now we have lots and lots of room for this little guy to grow and be super healthy by the time it's time to plant him out. So I'm going to just keep going with this. All these peppers are going to get potted up. The broccolis are also going to get potted up. So right now I've got a few broccoli robs here still. Actually, let me show you one more thing. I'll show you with one of the broccoli chunks how they come out of the tray. You can see lots and lots of roots here. These have definitely had their roots kind of growing together as opposed to some plants like onions. Like their roots, they may look like they're very tangled, but they very easily come apart. I'm going to assume these are going to be like the broccoli Rob, that once I started kind of massaging this and kind of squeezing a little bit and got some of the the seed sorting mix to come off. They did come apart fairly easily. So I'm just kind of giving it a little zhuzh here. And then I'm going to take half of the little baby plants in one hand, half in another, and then just start gently shaking and pulling them apart. I hear maybe a little bit of roots getting torn, but for the most part you can see as I get more of that seed sorting mix shaken off, the roots are staying fairly intact. So hopefully we should be in pretty good shape. So that is my project for today, is getting all of these potted up. Thanks for joining me here in Aunt Susan's garden.